Hi, welcome to Big Time Car Rental.
Hi, any cars available?
Sure. Would you like a GPS with that?
Yes.
Prepaid gas?
Good to go.
Insurance?
Absolutely.
Let's see, would you like AC, a rear view mirror, steering wheel? All 4 tires?
Have to be extra for all of that?
Yes, including the keys.
Some things should just be standard. Rev Voice has 17 standard calling features. Cut the blue wire. Get Rev Voice, save money.
Good evening, Bahamas. You're tuned into MB12 Weekend, broadcasting from Cable 12 Studios on Robinson Road. Coming up tonight, the PHA dispels rumors of an Ebola patient at Princess Margaret Hospital. 3 shot and 1 killed in an Easter morning marred by violence. Concerns raised about ministerial involvement in the NHI authorities' functions. Plus, as always, we count down the top quotes in news this week. Happy Easter. I'm Paige McCartney. We've got those stories and more straight ahead on MB12 Weekend. Welcome once again to MB12. The Public Hospital Authority says there's no truth to reports of an Ebola patient being treated at Princess Margaret Hospital. Reports quickly spread Saturday that a patient was being treated in isolation for the deadly disease. A statement released by the PHA just after midnight confirmed, however, that PMH is currently managing the case of a 51-year-old female patient who traveled to Johannesburg, South Africa 2 weeks ago and returned to the Bahamas on March 15th. According to the PHA, the patient sought treatment at Accident and Emergency, and an intensive investigation is underway to determine the cause of illness. However, the PHA says senior health officials have confirmed that the patient has not presented in any manner which indicates Ebola to be the likely diagnosis, and that at this time there's no confirmed case of Ebola infection at Princess Margaret Hospital. The patient is being nursed in isolation, and the hospital will provide updates as test results are received. Now, according to the last Ebola EPI alert issued on August 10th last year by the World Health Organization, Sierra Leone and Guinea remain the only countries with ongoing intense transmission. The statement adds that, as with any potential infectious disease case, the hospital is taking the necessary precautions and abiding by the highest protocols requisite for such cases within international guidelines. Well, this morning, the calm was shattered on an otherwise quiet Easter holiday weekend after gunfire rang out in 3 shooting incidents, one of which claimed the life of a Kemp Road businessman. According to police, shortly after 5:30 this morning, a man had just opened his convenience store on Kemp Road when he was shot several times. He died on the scene. Assistant Commissioner of Police Stephen Dean said there are no suspects and no motive for this crime yet.
We do not have a motive at the moment. We don't have no suspects in mind at the moment, but detectives from the CDU, assisted by officers from the Northeastern Division, are on the scene. They are actively investigating this matter. We want to appeal to members of the public who might have been canvassing the area, anyone who might have any information immaterial to how insignificant the information might seem. We want you to contact police. We need your assistance to assist us in bringing justice to the family.
Then, in a separate shooting just a couple hours later at around 8 a.m., police say a man and a woman were shot just outside their mini street home.
We can tell you that a male and female were shot. Shortly after 8, they were at their residence when they were shot by a lone gunman, according to preliminary reports. They were transported to the hospital where their condition at the moment is considered to be stable. Police are actively investigating this matter. We are appealing to members of the public, anyone, neighbors, friends who might have been in this area, who might have some information as to why the shooting might have occurred or the motive of the shooting. We are asking you to please contact police immediately. We need to put these persons behind bars.
The 2 victims were transported to hospital where they remain in stable condition. And police are also reporting that shortly after 3 Sunday morning, a man had just arrived at his home on Ross Corner and East Street when a man armed with a handgun approached and shot him before running off. That victim was rushed to hospital where he's listed in serious condition. Dean had this message for criminals.
And we also put an appeal out to persons out there even the criminals elements that the police will continue to pursue you. We will bring you to justice. We will find out just who you are. Person who possessing firearms, we will continue to do so with our aggressive approach of our policing plan, that we continue to canvass the streets. We are asking anyone who might have information on firearms, drugs, or anyone committing crime to please contact police immediately.
And police are also reporting that a male officer from the Bahamas Department of Corrections along with his wife are in custody after they were arrested for possession of dangerous drugs on Friday. Reports are that shortly after 10 p.m., Drug Enforcement Unit officers acting on intelligence executed a search warrant on the home of the officer located on Sanglo Drive, Colony Village, where they uncovered a quantity of marijuana. The officer and his wife are expected to appear in court early this week to be formally charged. And another man and woman were taken into custody Saturday for dangerous drug possession. Reports are that shortly after 1 p.m., a team of officers from the Selective Enforcement Team acted on intelligence and executed a search warrant on the home of the two suspects located off Pine Barren Road, where they uncovered a quantity of marijuana. Those two suspects are also expected to appear in court early this week to face charges. And in other news, as healthcare professionals prepare to engage consultants from KPMG on government's national health insurance scheme, concern is mounting over the heavy ministerial control provided in the draft NHI bill. Once passed, NHI legislation will make way for the creation of a national health insurance authority, which will have complete power to discharge the provisions of the bill. But as Bahamas Chamber of Commerce and Employers Confederation Director and Chairman of the NHI Review Committee, Derek Osborne, points out, the minister who will be given purview of NHI will have the power to direct the authority regarding the discharge of its functions, be it general or specific. Osborne said while it's understood that all government entities must fall under a minister, the concern lies in the heavy-handedness the bill allows the minister to have.
Our concern with the governance aspect of the bill was the wide-ranging powers of the minister and the level of micromanagement that the minister was allowed in that bill. The minister chose essentially all of the board members. The minister had the responsibility of setting salaries and deciding on the who fills the job of senior positions. And so we would hope that in 2015, a new government corporation would really have a governance structure that it has to have a minister, we understand that. But the powers are limited. The board members are chosen from the stakeholder group with key talent and skills that are necessary to run a good corporation without government interference.
Osborne says a program like universal health care should be depoliticized in order for it to work from administration to administration. He said the model of having a government entity so heavily controlled by a minister may have been suitable in the Bahamas 40 years ago when governments were expected to pick and choose who would run an organization, but it isn't necessary in a modern, progressive Bahamas.
So when governments change, the practice has always been for government boards to step down and replaced by a new board.
On the other hand, Osborne is commending the bill drafters for the proposed staggered tenure of the NHI Authority Board.
This bill I must say, has one very good point in it, and that is the staggered nature of the board. It calls for board membership to be staggered so that all don't resign at the same time. So the tenures of boards will end at certain points, where two may come off at a time. So at the end of the day, new board members come on and meet existing board members who can take over. NHI, in principle, has several players. It means getting the money to government or to NHIA. It means NHIA having a contract with insurance companies to manage the care that's provided by the hospitals or the clinics and doctors. So there are relationships that have to be put in place before NHI can work. And that's where we are now. There are no contracts in place with insurance companies or with the providers. And so that has to be done first. So it's not that the individual people aren't ready. It's just that the system hasn't come together in a way yet that ensures that everybody, all stakeholders, know what they're responsible for, know how it's going to work, and so when the switch is clicked, that everybody knows exactly what has to be done.
Well, cardiothoracic surgeon Dr. Duane San says he has mixed feelings about the delay of national health insurance, explaining that while he doesn't want to say, "I told you so," since he predicted a delay, that's just how he feels. On the other hand, he said he's happy government has finally realized that its method to implement NHI was not effective enough and just not ready. Simone Davis reports.
San said finally, the government understands that NHI could not be rushed and expressed that he has mixed feelings because the government should have listened to the many local doctors and physicians who called for a delay.
I think there are mixed feelings. On the one hand, I think finally the government gets it that a program with such far-reaching impact on the way we deliver healthcare in the Bahamas could not be rushed. I say I have mixed feelings because it is almost a shame that despite having countless physicians, Bahamian insurance executives and other stakeholders say repeatedly to the government, let's not rush this, let's get it right. The government would only listen if somebody from outside the country said that that is the right thing to do.
San said once again this issue makes him question whether or not the government has real respect for local medical professionals.
It raises the question of whether or not there is any real consideration or respect for the views of Bahamians. That said, let's embrace the time to get this right. I think you will find that certainly Bahamian physicians, insurance agents, business people, civil society are all genuinely interested in working together to come up with a Bahamian solution. And I have no doubt in my mind that we are all literally trying to get to the same point.
He added that the government has a reputation of not meeting publicized deadlines, but this time the Prime Minister has made it very clear that he wanted to get NHI right, and now is the time to get serious about universal health care. Dr. Sands also mentioned his concerns about a public insurer.
If we embrace this opportunity, we can do some wonderful things and get it right. Now, what's also fascinating is that the KPMG consultants have suggested that the public insurer ought to be a private concern. Now, isn't that amazing that the government's consultant now is reinforcing what we have been saying all along, that take this thing out of the public sector mentality approach, and we're going to get the best result. So if it takes 2 months or 3 months or 4 months, so be it. But let's get it right. Let us do this the way we should have done it in the first place.
He added that with this extra time the government has to deal with NHI, he just hopes that local doctors and physicians are more involved to ensure that NHI is done properly. Reporting for NB12 Weekend, I'm Simone Davis.